I want to start with kind of just a little bit. I don't have as many pictures, and I certainly am not as well prepared as Kate, but that's to be expected when you have a good competition. Um, but I want to share a couple things. We'll have some pictures to go along with this. I'll start with a story from my first encampment, um, which was we had a presenter there who had his own life story, and he shared kind of the opportunities that come along for him. But he drew a Venn diagram on the board, and for those of you familiar with a Venn diagram, I'm sure you're used to seeing two circles with an overlap, right? One says apples and one says pie, and the one part in the middle says apple pie, right? It's where those two things mix. And he said, I'm going to draw a Venn diagram on the board. He drew a big circle and he wrote comfort zone. And he said, so this is your comfort zone. And he drew another circle and he said, awesome things happen here. And he wrote awesome things happen here. And little thing to note was that Venn diagram he drew, the circles didn't overlap at all. They were on other sides of the board. So not exactly your normal Venn diagram, but it was a visual image that stuck with me, and this sort of idea that you got to go out of your comfort zone a little bit. Kate used the word eccentric. Certainly, I guess all sorts of titles that can fit. And I think there's two things in my mind when you want to go after these things is to be, to be dedicated and aggressive about, which is number one is learning, and you don't learn when you're in your comfort zone. You don't grow when you're being static. And number two is helping others, making a difference around you. Because if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? It's about personal growth, about making a difference. And so along that journey, Kate talked about also exploiting friends, which is kind of a funny term, but exploiting friends and mentors and resources. That's part of the path and the journey to be able to do those things. And if you want to learn, if you really want to learn, you're going to go after these opportunities that aren't necessarily going to be comfortable, but you're going to go for whatever opportunities come that are going to let you grow and let you learn. And number two is make a difference and help others. And to go for that doesn't always mean you're doing the glorious jobs. It means you're doing the things that matter to get things done, to get the mission accomplished. So I want to kind of frame that in the perspective of a particular mentor. So before I went to Johnson Flight Academy, where I met Kate, I'd heard that there was going to be a gentleman there who was an Air Force Chief Master Sergeant. And I'd heard that he'd been in the Air Force for 30 years. And that Chief Master Sergeant is, that's the top of the food chain. That's E9. You promoted your way up. And he had been a first sergeant as a master sergeant, a first sergeant as a senior master sergeant. He'd served as a first sergeant as a chief master sergeant. He'd served as a command chief in the Air Force 3 times. And his rack of ribbons when he wears his blues is a resume that speaks for itself. If you know what those ribbons stand for, you can see what he's done and what he's accomplished. And I was really looking forward to meeting him. And and I had never met a chief master sergeant before. This is the top of the enlisted chain. I thought that was pretty cool. And I went there looking for Chief Master Sergeant Dandridge, and found him. And when I found him, he was standing there by check-in, and he was helping us check in. And he was wearing the Johnson Flight Academy uniform, which was shorts, Johnson Flight Academy orange t-shirt. And he was doing some check-in stuff. And I thought, I wonder if I have the right guy, because that's probably not him. This is a guy who's, 30 years Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant, Command Chief. And then the next time I saw him, he was collecting laundry for us, because we were going to do laundry by just turning in our, we had 2 sets of the Flight Academy uniform, and turn one set in every night. They do laundry, and they'd have it all folded. And when you left the next morning, Chief Dandridge was standing there. Here's your clean and folded uniform, ready to go. And I thought, okay, where does that come in? And then the next time I saw him, he was sweeping and mopping up and cleaning after folks. And at some point I asked him, I said, Chief, you've had 30 years in the Air Force. You're a big dog. What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm helping make sure that you guys learn. You guys are here to focus on flying, and I want to make sure you can dedicate your time to that. And that kind of blew my mind in terms of certainly helping others. And so the next time I saw Chief Dandridge, finished Johnson Flight Academy, had an amazing time there, and went to the wing conference that winter. And at the Illinois Wing Conference, there was going to be a change of command for a new Illinois Wing Commander, and the MC for the event was going to be Chief Dandridge. And when you walk in the door, as an MC, we've seen people host events before, but when it means host event, typically I think we usually see an MC who stands on the podium, he owns the mic, or she owns the mic, and they have that stage presence, and that's that's what they do. They're up there and they run the show. And when we walked into the conference, Chief Dandridge was standing in his uniform at the front lobby. And as everyone came in, he said, "Hey, how are you? I'm glad you can make it. I think you're going to have a wonderful time. And can I help you with your bag?" And if you were a wing commander coming in, or a visiting dignitary, or a speaker, or a participant, or a cadet coming in, he was there to greet you with a big smile and shake your hand and say, "I am so glad you're here. I appreciate you coming, and thank you." And it was just this kind of focus on helping others that was still there. It wasn't just at the flight academy. This is obviously who he was as a person. And I said, "Chief, I understand you're emceeing. I don't know all the responsibilities that entails, but if I can help you in any way, let me know." And he goes, "I think I got it, cadet." At the time, I'm a little cadet staff sergeant. Right? I've got my little 4 stripes. I'm like, "Seriously, Chief, if there's any way I can help, I'm there. I'm there to help you." And he goes, "All right." And a couple hours later, people had finished coming in, and there's some things going on with setting up, and I see that Chief Dandridge is there, and I go, "Chief, any way I can help you?" And he said, I think we're good." And I said, "Anything I can do?" He's like, "Well, we're setting up. If you want to help set up, you can do that." And I said, "Sure." And started, grabbing some chairs and moving some boxes, and we started getting things set up, and that got wrapped up. We got ready for the next day, and I said, "Anything I can do to help?" And he goes, "Well, I need somebody to hand the awards to me. We're going to be presenting some awards. We need what they call a proffer to hand me the awards so that I can, then make sure that the awards are being presented to the right people." And I said, "All right, I got you. I got that. I'll do that." And I stood there and in my dress uniform as a little cadet staff sergeant, and I presented him each of the awards. I handed them to him so that they'd get presented. And that was it, kind of off to the side, but handing things and being a part of the award ceremony. And at the very end of the night, I kind of stayed and helped clean up. And, we were putting some things away, and there's people talking as the banquet finished. And as people left, one by one, there's fewer and fewer people there until it was the new wing commander who'd just been appointed, and 2 people who were sitting there talking to him, and Chief Dandridge and myself. And the reason I stayed behind was, kind of help clean up, but then I wanted to, go say congratulations. And everybody else who'd been talking to the new wing commander were all people that are higher ranking than me, and they're, senior members and adults, and people that certainly, this is the man of the hour. This man who just become the wing commander. And the outgoing wing commander, Chief Dandridge, had presented him with a challenge coin, and it had the chief insignia on it. And he said, "You're an honorary chief, and thank you for all your focus on dedication to service and to helping, the volunteer spirit and the mission of our people here." And that was a big deal. And now there's the new wing commander who Chief Dandridge had welcomed in, and he's talking to these last few people. And as these people finish up their conversation, I step in, and I wanted to just shake his hand and say, "Congratulations in your position, sir, and looking forward to working under your command here." And before I could say that, me, this little nobody, and I'm just waiting for a chance to say congratulations to the guy who's the big boss. Chief Dandridge steps forward, and he pulls out another challenge coin. And right in front of the new wing commander, he hands me the challenge coin, shakes my hand, and he says, "Thank you for what you're doing. You're doing an awesome job as a cadet. Keep up the good work." And on that coin, it marked for excellence. And he said, "This is in recognition of your excellence, and keep working on that. Excellence is always striving to do better and to make a difference." And I said, "Thank you so much, Chief." And I was awed and amazed and humbled and grateful. And then I, turned to say, "Sir, congratulations on your new command." And you could tell, obviously, that he'd noticed that. And it wasn't until later that I realized Chief Dandridge had done that on purpose. Um, and as the next years progressed and the wing commander, what was in his new role running Illinois wing, I found that there were moments that, whether it was at a wing conference or whether it was at some other wing event, or whether it was just by email or through other people, that the wing commander had an eye on me. And opportunities came my way, and questions were asked for my advice and my input as a little, cadet. But the next wing conference, the wing commander's wife, said, used some phrase like, "Where's my cadet?" I realized she was referring to me, and I was making sure that she had gotten what she needed as a participant at that conference that next year. And I realized that what Chief Dandridge had done was he set up an expectation from the very beginning. And he had, basically set up to the new wing commander, this kid who's about to say congratulations to you, that's somebody to watch. And I didn't really know why. And then I continued to promote, and I became a cadet chief master sergeant. And when I promoted, I emailed Chief Dandridge, who at the time I believe had become already the Illinois Wing Command Chief on Civil Air Patrol. And I said, "Do you think you could come up and present the cadet chief master sergeant award to me? That'd really mean a lot to me." And he said, "Of course." And pardon me. And so he came up to Pewaukee Composite Squadron, and he gave a presentation to everybody while we were there. Certainly got some of his insights shared. And then they pinned on my my chief master sergeant ranks. And I want to point this out as a little bit of a tangent, but on the left there, you'll see Cadet Jody Gothrop. On the right, at the time, Cadet Josh Lambert. Two friends and mentors within the squadron as well. And I'll get back to talking about them soon as well. I wanted to point that out. And they pinned on the Cadet Chief Master Sergeant insignia, and then Chief Dandridge handed me a second challenge coin. So this is the second time I'd gotten one from him. And again, it was the same coin. So now I had a duplicate, and it said "for excellence." And I was blown away. I actually have a leather pouch that I travel with, and I carry that first coin, or one of those two coins. I don't remember which one was which, but I carry one of his coins with me, and it still says "for excellence." And when you hang out with somebody like Chief Dandridge, there's these little things that you pick up, these little things that you learn along the way, because that man is just a source of knowledge and tips and tricks on life and service and professionalism. But when we wrapped up from that promotion ceremony, and I helped him put some things in his car, and I said, "Chief, you're about to head back down to Scott Air Force Base. You've driven hours to be there." I said, "I really appreciate you coming up, but I want to know, what advice is there? Any advice you can leave me with? You've said congratulations. You've coined me now twice. You've said I've been doing good things, but what do I do going forward? What do I need to know? What do I need to be thinking about?" And he said, very seriously, he said, "Keep doing what you're doing." And at the time I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I supposed to do with that? I don't know what I'm doing. But he said, "Keep doing what you're doing." And he got kind of serious. And for those people that know Chief Dandridge, he's a very smiley guy, a very happy guy. And he said, the difference that you make, the things you're able to do, and the attitude you're able to do it with, those are the things that matter. And the things that you're doing right now, keep doing those, and you'll be on a path to success. And so, in retrospect, I think the two things that I had been doing the most, or the only two things I cared about really, were learning. I really was hungry for learning and growth, which is why when I saw people like Chief Dandridge or heard about them, I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to speak with them. I wanted to get to know them. Wanted to hear their stories. And two was helping. How can I be of service? How can I make a difference? And he saw that early on in me, and made a difference. But I wanted to bring that up as a case study, because this is a guy who also exemplified both those two values. This is somebody who really cared about service and helping others. And if you ever get a chance to speak with him, he's very open-minded, wants to hear your thoughts and your opinions. and hear your perspectives. He's a world traveler who's represented the Air Force in many other countries. Very smiley, open guy, but his focus is all dedicated to service and making a difference on others. And so the two things that I think I was doing right were the only two things I cared about, which was learning and making a difference. And when Kate said, exploiting friends, which can sound kind of funny terminology to use for it, but if you can pull up some of the other pictures there, I had shared, but people, if you can switch, there's a picture with Jody and Josh and Colonel Dempsey and I. Sorry, thanks.
That's it.
Yep, that was it. I don't know if you can see it very well, but well, there's one. Yep. So some early friends made there, and yeah, I didn't have the slides prepared in the same way and trying to figure it out on my phone as Kate. As I said, it's terrible to try to follow Kate. So life lesson for all of you guys if you ever get the chance. But don't make that mistake. But those are some of the mentors early on within my squadron that I want to point out. Jody Gothrop, Josh Lambert, and Colonel Dempsey, who at the time was the I think deputy commander of cadets for Pewaukee Squadron when I initially met him. Now, of course, the Illinois Wing Commander. Josh is in the same class as Kate and poised to graduate from the Air Force Academy and commission into the Air Force shortly. And Jody is a aircraft maintainer. She works on civilian aircraft as somebody who fixes planes, and she's also a pilot in her own right. And those are three examples of people who stay committed to service. And there's a little picture there. I know Kate had that picture also on her slide, and I also had some other good pictures, including the one from Johnson Flight Academy. I've been looking at earlier today as well. And that's a picture of Josh and Kate at the Air Force Academy. There's Jason at the Air Force Academy, and Jason was also in my home squadron. And the term I want to kind of use for whether it's Chief Dandridge or whether it's people like Kate or like Josh or Jody or Jason is to latch onto them. Sometimes people see mentorship as a very formal process, as a very, where you ask somebody to be your mentor or somebody is assigned as your mentor. But if you really want to learn, if you really want to grow, you latch on to people, you find good people. And that's the most valuable commodity in life. And Civil Air Patrol gave me the opportunity to meet these kind of people and meet them all over, and friends literally internationally now. Friends, there's a friend who's currently in Australia who's he's in the military, and he's just trying out for the Special Air Service, basically the Special Forces for Australia. That's a branch off the SAS in the UK. I've got friends in Canada, who one who's almost finished her license to be a pharmacist, and she's also a pilot, living in northern British Columbia. And I've got friends all over and connections made, and of course certainly within the US from everywhere, from not just at your home activities in your home squadron, but once you get out of the unit, both across the wing and across the region at cadet special activities and across the nation. One of their friends that I met at Cadet Officer School is now stationed in Japan as an aircraft maintainer there. And she got involved back with Civil Air Patrol. They have a unit in Japan at Yokota Air Force Base. And she's been mentoring some folks there. And actually, I'll just throw this out there. If any of you watch Operation Christmas Drop on Netflix, based on the real mission. So one of the planes she maintains is in that movie. And one of her fellow maintainers who was on the mission last year is also in there. But you make these kind of connections, and I say latch onto them, because those are where you get the most value in terms of being able to grow and being able to serve. If those two things are your priorities, being able to focus on getting things done to help people and learning as much as you can, then the other things aren't really gonna get in your way. And there's a picture there with Colonel Dempsey when I got to be cadet commander at the Air Force Academy. Not at the Air Force Academy, that's Kate. At the Illinois Wing Encampment, at cadet commander for that event. And there was a picture there where actually so there's a little patch there. You can see those are patches I think if you can see, if you zoom in, those should be, and Kate, you can confirm, but those should be from Air Force Academy squadrons. I think, I don't know if you can see it. I think that's the right picture. You've got the 7th and the, I can't quite see it all the way there, but those were some previous encampment cadet commanders. And the 4th, okay, thanks. Some previous cadet commanders of Illinois Wing Spring Encampment who had gone into the Air Force Academy. We took a picture and sent it to them, because those are people, again, that you know, you latch onto, and when they go on to be successful in all sorts of ways, if they're the sort of people that are focusing on their own personal growth and their own ability to contribute to make a difference, they're going to be people who are going to go far, and you're going to continue to learn from them and appreciate those experiences. And at the, I'll share one little story from that encampment. So part of my focus, not just for myself, but as a cadet commander for that encampment, was that everybody else have the same mindset as well: personal growth and service to others. And if you can focus on those two things, you're going to build some really good relationships, and you're going to be able to make a difference. And I put my heart and soul into it. I worked hard on it, and I think we had a pretty good encampment. I don't know if there was anybody else who was there at that particular encampment that year. There you go. Connor's hand is up. And at the end, as I think, Connor, perhaps you remember, but there was a moment towards the end of encampment where one of my deputy commanders and one of my squadron commanders asked me to come into the room, and had the entire encampment waiting online in one big room. And they gave a little speech, and they said thank you. And I didn't like it. I like to be in control and making a difference and doing things, and being told, nope, you don't know what's happening, and you just gotta, you might be cadet commander, but it's your time to shut up and stand there. And they gave a little thank you speech for the heart and soul I'd put into the encampment and the difference I'd made for them and for all of their staff. And all the cadet staff had signed a T-shirt, and they'd gotten special dog tags made that said, Spring Encampment for that year, and cadet commander and my name, and they presented it. There's a picture from that encampment. Or actually, that was from a previous encampment. But anyway, they took the picture, they all signed the T-shirt, and they had the dog tags, and they presented to me in front of the entire encampment. And that was hands down the most humbling experience of my life. And I went off later and cried about it. And one of the senior members came over and said, like, it's okay, like, we know this is almost the end of your cadet career, and you're going to keep moving on. And they thought I was crying because it was over, or that had moved me so much, because this was kind of the end of my encampment, and I had done so much as a cadet, and now it was going to be done. But what actually struck me so much was when you put your heart and soul into those two things, into learning and helping, if that's all you care about, you're going to make a world of a difference. And sometimes, occasionally, people are going to say thank you. And when you realize that putting your heart and soul into something like that, not for somebody to say thank you, and not for the title, and not for anything like that, but because you genuinely want to make a difference, and because you want to do the best that you can, sometimes people say thank you. And that thank you can be the most humbling experience of all. But it's not an end. It's not a cap to the cadet career. It's not a finish. You've seen what Kate's already done, and the things that she's going to be off and doing soon. You've heard some of the other people I've mentioned and what they're off to do. Your cadet career is the beginning. This is where you start. It's where you get the foundation to be able to build those skills of learning to go beyond your comfort zone and focus on growth and service. And Tough, you can pull up a picture of Josh again, just one last time. Is they're these friends. I love to say Josh was he became the National Cadet of the Year, and I'm really proud of him for that. And he guided me along initially in my cadet career from my home encampment and beyond, or from my home squadron and beyond to encampment, and more than that, and stayed a good friend. And that's where, when he became a basic cadet encampment, and shaved his head, and they said, you're no longer a civilian, you're now off to basic cadet training and to begin the next adventure. And I kind of want to say that adventure continues, and I'll give you guys all a good laugh. I sometimes like to jump the gun a little bit. Sometimes, as Kate said, I'm a little eccentric. But I'm going to be shipping off in 2.5 weeks for the United States Air Force, basic military training with a guaranteed contract to train for survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And my goal is to become a survival and evasion, resistance, and escape specialist. And I'll give you guys all a good laugh, because in preparation for that, I did the same thing as Josh had done to him. And the adventure continues. You go on from one thing to the next, and it's not about how you look. It's not about what you're wearing at the moment, or whether it's civilian clothes or a cadet uniform or an Air Force Academy uniform or an Air Force uniform or enlisted or officer or a chief master sergeant or a cadet staff sergeant or anything in between or outside of that. If your focus is on personal growth and service, you're going to go far, and the adventure is going to continue. So thank you, and appreciate having me on here. So. I will say my motivation for this, and part of my motivation for going to SEER is not just because it's a career I care about and a mission I care about, but I've got a lot of friends who are becoming pilots. And the SEER specialist job is to basically prepare those people to make sure that if they go through what's called an isolating event, where they get shot down or they get behind enemy lines, to make sure they're going to be able to come home. And the SEER motto is return with honor. And honestly, that's a really big motivating factor for me when I think about going through this. SEER promises to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I know that for sure. Up until now, probably the two hardest things was one, through Civil Air Patrol, I got to do a pararescue and survival orientation course and meet some SEER specialists. And at the time, that was just going through 9 days with them was the hardest thing I had done in my life. Since then, I've done some commercial salmon fishing up here and dealt with a skipper who had some differing leadership styles from what we might aspire to in a textbook, and been through some other things that have been that have seemed more difficult than that. But I think SEER is going to be the biggest challenge of my life. But if you think about those two same things, right? I mean, I'm drawn to it for those same two reasons. Personal growth. This is going to challenge me like nothing before, and I want that. And two is it's an opportunity to serve. And even now, as I'm preparing my mind mentally to go into this challenge, I think about people that I care about, people that I really respect and admire, including Kate, who's on this call, and Josh Lambert and Jason Schultz, and I've got a number of other, including Andrew Valentino, who Kate mentioned as well, who's also at the Air Force Academy. Sam Thompson, who's a friend there, as well as numerous other friends at the Academy and elsewhere. But, I think of those friends who are people that I did latch onto, people who I saw, these are people of value. These are people who can make me be a better person, and you grab onto them and you don't let go. And those sort of people, when I think about what a difference they've made on my life, and the thought that maybe I'm going to be in a position where I can help make sure that the hardest day that they might go through, that I can prepare them for that. That's a really motivating factor for me. So in terms of details of what to expect with SEER, I know you don't get to eat much. I know you don't get to sleep much. I know you don't get to be real acquainted with the word comfort. And there's some stories that I've heard from some of the SEER specialists I've gotten to meet. I'm grateful for, including we have a former Illinois wing cadet who went on to become a SEER specialist. Some of the Illinois wing senior members who I've latched onto, including the person who proctored my spots exam, and Colonel Dempsey, both referred me to this guy, and I actually just spoke with him today. And I've heard some horror stories of what goes on, but I'm not going to share those stories because I think they'd make my dad uncomfortable knowing I'm going to go through them. So I'll tell you guys all once I'm on the other side, and I'll be able to, maybe it might take a little while for me to be able to laugh at them again, but I'll share some more stories then. But I'm expecting it to be the hardest thing I've done in my life, and I'm looking forward. Yeah, I'd like to throw in I don't know if anybody has seen the Netflix special by Brene Brown. I certainly recommend that. That's two things I've recommended on Netflix. You wonder how I spend my time now. But Brene Brown is a Harvard psychologist, and she actually spoke at the Air Force Academy, and I was there when she spoke to be able to hear her, and that was made quite the difference. She's written a number of books as well, and worth looking up Brene Brown. But she talks about a gratitude as a prerequisite to joy. That you have to be able to be grateful and be cognizant and conscious of the things that you are grateful for in order to be able to be joyful, because if you're not grateful, you're not going to be able to be happy with what you have. You're going to be focused on the worry and fear of what you don't have. So yeah, grateful for people. I'd echo that too, and opportunities. And I will say that other flip side to latching on to people, when you're grateful for people, those people like to help. Certainly good people do. If you're finding the right people and latching onto them, you're going to get a lot out of it. A lot of not just friendship, but coaching and mentoring and helping and opportunities. And I did, 4 encampments in Michigan, and have, friends and connections there that never would have happened if Kate had not said at Johnson Flight Academy, why don't you come up to Michigan? There's an encampment there that you ought to go to. So grateful for friends and family that push me forward.